What's up YouTube, how you doing? This is Mr. Tybox123 and in this video I'm going to be bringing you my full review of this, the Samsung Galaxy S4. Welcome back guys, and it is time for the review of the Samsung Galaxy S4. Again, one of the most anticipated phones of 2013, really due to the success of the S3 and the S2 even before that. They really were fantastic phones, if not one of the best smartphone sellers in the world. Now the S4, we were hoping for a lot more changes than we actually got, but let's get into the review and see what the S4 is all about. So first up, we have got the design. Now, the design hasn't changed as much as I would like to have seen it change. It's pretty much exactly the same, other than the bezel that goes around the outside of the phone and the introduction of a new colour. We've now got this black mist colour, and it's actually very nice. When you first look at it, it looks like a just kind of plain black. But as you get it under certain lights and with certain reflections, it's got a lot of silver in it, and it does actually look quite nice and also feels fairly nice to the touch, if not sometimes just a little bit slippery. They've also added this silver bezel all the way around the outside, maybe to give it a bit more of a premium look, and it does do that on first impression, but as you get a little bit closer, you can tell that it really is just a plastic strip running down the outside of the phone. The design, I do think though, is an improvement on the S3. Those really tapered edges on the S3 didn't make it particularly comfortable to hold, and it often kind of slid around a little bit in your hand. With that bezel that goes around the outside that makes it a little bit flatter, it does actually make it a little bit more comfortable in the hand and makes it just feel a little bit nicer as well. Now in terms of the build quality, a much debated subject in terms of the Galaxy range of phones. Some people love good build quality, some people really couldn't care less. Me personally, I do like good build quality, and the Galaxy S4, although it doesn't have any kind of aluminium chassis or shell or any of these kind of premium sort of look and feel things, it does actually last very well, and it kind of keeps its good looks right the way through to the end of the contract when you actually own it. Now let's take a little bit of a tour around that design of the Galaxy S4. First of all, on the right hand side of the phone, we have got the standby button. It's a good button, it's nice and responsive, not too sensitive. And then as we work our way around to the left hand side of the phone, we have got the volume rocker in the same kind of standard as the on off button. And then as we go around to the top of the phone, we've got the 3.5mm headphone jack, along with an IR blaster and a noise reducing microphone. And then on the bottom of the phone, we've got another microphone along with the USB port for charging and also syncing the device. Now on the front, we've got a whole bunch of sensors on the top along with the earpiece. We've got that physical home button as well, still in place from its predecessors. Now as we work our way around to the back, we've got that 13 megapixel camera, and I'll come on to the quality of that in just a minute. We've also got a single LED flash along with the loudspeaker that's actually changed positions now and is in the same position as the Galaxy Note 2. Now the first thing that you notice when you get this phone is the screen. This is a huge 5-inch 1080p panel. I find it just incredible that we're getting 1080p screens in these little smartphones, and this screen really does live up to its predecessor in every way. It's significantly better, Super AMOLED display, and it really is much better than the Galaxy S3 for many reasons. First up, it's still a pentile display, but because of the resolution and the extra pixels, there's really no way to tell that anymore. It's extremely contrasty. The colours are so vivid, it really does jump out of the screen and kind of punch you in the face in terms of the vividity of the colours. It's just a fantastic screen, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Whether you're watching movies or playing games, everything just looks exactly as it wants to, and it really does just pop out of the screen and scream quality at you. Now again, round on the back of the phone, we've got that huge 13 megapixel sensor in the camera for the Galaxy S4, and it really is a fantastic camera. The level of detail, the contrast and the accuracy of colours are found to be absolutely fantastic, and you can also get a great depth of field as well with that 13 megapixel camera. And in medium to high level of light situations, it really is an absolutely fantastic camera, if not the best camera in those particular lighting conditions. In low light, it doesn't really match up to the low light quality of the iPhone 5 or even more so the HTC One, but in high light and medium levels of light it's probably better than both of those. In terms of video, it takes fantastic video quality, and the onboard microphone I found to be extremely good as well. And also with these cameras, you've got the ability to take video on the front and the rear, or even pictures on the front and the rear at the same time, which can be kind of fun. You also get the ability to take short video clips when you take a picture and then amalgamate those into animations and GIFs and various short videos as well, which is a nice kind of touch. You can also get it to include the sound when you take a picture, which is kind of interesting, so you get all of the sort of sound that was going on at that particular moment as you take your snap. And overall the features really are fantastic, as you would expect from a Samsung smartphone. Loads and loads of different effects, loads and loads of different configuration options, and they've obviously done an absolutely tremendous job with the camera on the Galaxy S4. The front camera is a 1.9 megapixel shooter, and it works very, very well. It's not quite as good as some of the others that are out there in terms of front-facing cameras, but definitely nothing less than extremely good. Now onto performance, and this is a quad-core 1.9 gigahertz absolute beast. There is an octa-core version out there, but unfortunately I haven't got that one. I've got the quad-core one, which is the one that is available throughout most of the world, I believe. And even though it is just the quad core, I say just the quad core in comparison to the octo core, it performs ridiculously well, especially in those benchmark results. It gets phenomenally high figures. Now, one thing I have found in terms of performance is, although it does chew up most things that you actually throw at it in terms of individual applications, I found that sometimes when you're switching between applications and you've got a hell of a lot of stuff going on all at one time, it can just become a little bit stuttery in terms of real world performance. And that's probably because of the bulkiness of the TouchWiz interface that Samsung put over the top of the stock Android 4.2 on the Galaxy S4. And let's move on to the operating system. Comes stock with Jelly Bean 4.2.1, which as we know is a very, very smooth, fantastic operating system. But Samsung have added over the TouchWiz interface. Now, they've also added in a whole bunch of features with that TouchWiz interface. We've got all of the Air features along with the Smart features, and personally I find the majority of them to be very, very gimmicky, and I just end up finding myself turning themselves off. Now, some of them are actually quite good. I love some of the features with the pop-up video, and I also love the multitasking that you can do. But like I say, the Smart Stay feature and the ability to navigate your way around using your eyes and that kind of thing, I just find it a little bit gimmicky, and it kind of got on my nerves after a while, and I just found myself turning all of those options off. But that's not to say that some people won't like them. There are a couple that I don't mind. The one where it's in standby and you can just wave your hand over the top of the phone to see your notifications. That's fairly useful, but then that's nothing new to this particular smartphone that's been around for quite a while with previous iterations. So the TouchWiz interface itself, it is extremely bulky, like I've said. It does add a lot of features, some of them gimmicks, some of them not gimmicks. But what it actually does in that long term is it adds a whole bunch of storage onto your device, leaving you with very, very little, especially on the 16GB version, to add much of your own applications. And this came out shortly after the device was released, and a lot of people have kind of messaged me and found it a real problem. So that's definitely a downside that is to be considered. A really nice feature that I found that I used quite a lot was the 2-finger pull down to give you access to those ridiculous amount of toggles that you've got in there. It's a nice little touch by Samsung, and I actually found that the S Health and the S Translator applications were actually quite nice to use and quite a lot of fun. The S Health application, you can set it up to track your footsteps, monitor your calories, and a whole bunch of stuff around health-based scenarios, and I found it actually works fairly well. I've paired it up with my Nike Fuel Band, and the accuracy is a little bit off in comparison to that, but pretty much the same. So very, very impressed with that, and also with the interface and the widget that comes alongside it. And the S Translate program, I actually tried it with a Japanese friend the other day, and it actually worked reasonably well. We could kind of communicate without speaking English to one another, which was very, very impressive really, considering that's a kind of fairly new feature. S Voice, it's there. Most people don't use it, I believe. I find it a little bit irritating and just tend to turn it off, but it is there if you actually want to go about using it. So on to battery life, one of the most important things in my opinion, and this has got a removable 2500 milliamp hour battery, which is a jump up from the S3, and it does actually make a fair bit of difference. The battery life does tend to get you through the majority of a day with sort of fair to medium usage, or just shy of a day with kind of really heavy usage with a lot of on-screen time. But luckily with that removable battery, you can just take it out and slot another one in right next to that SD card as well, where you can store a whole bunch of external media on that little SD card, not taking up the space on the phone. Now, last but not least, I've been very pleased with one of the accessories on the Galaxy S4. That is the FlipView case. Now, what Samsung have actually done is they've introduced this case and they've added a couple of features. First up, it knows when you open and close it, and also puts the screen into standby and out of standby as and when you open and close it. What they've also done is added this kind of clear perspex area here that enables you to see just a little bit of information and also answer phone calls as well without actually having to fully open the cover, which I think is a really nice feature. And I've been very impressed with the case for the Galaxy S4. I like it a lot. I've been using it on the Galaxy S3 and the Galaxy Note 2 without this little view compartment, and going back to those is very annoying having used this, and I think this is a great accessory that I would definitely recommend to everyone who's got the Galaxy S4. So finally, my opinion of the S4. Obviously, this is an absolutely amazing smartphone, one of the best smartphones that will be around for the rest of the year. Any of the negative things that we say about it really are kind of nitpicking, as these phones are so incredible at the moment. Now, there are a couple of little bits that I wasn't too keen on. The first one was the fact that it really didn't change the design or the build quality in any way from the previous version, but that's really down to personal opinion. Next up, I did find that at certain times the phone just lags a little bit and can sometimes kind of stutter around the operating system when you've got a lot of stuff going on, along with the fact that TouchWiz really does take up that ridiculous amount of space on the local storage, removing a hell of a lot of capacity for people who use a lot of applications, especially on the small 16GB edition. In terms of the positives, the actual screen on this thing is beautiful. The colors, the vividity, the size, it's just tremendous. The sensitivity, everything about it really is just absolutely excellent in every single way. Also, the camera in high light levels of light and medium levels of light situations, like I said before, this camera is probably the best smartphone camera on the market today for those specific situations. And just overall, the fact that you can remove the battery, the fact that you've got the SD card as well, all of it together just makes this an absolutely fantastic phone. And again, I would have no issue in recommending this to everyone on a 2-year contract. This is definitely going to last a period and is going to do a fantastic job for you. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. See ya.